Hello, hello, and good evening, everybody, or morning, or wherever you're coming from. So I'm just waiting to make sure that my stream is good. It looks like it's working. All right. Hopefully, I'll be able to see the comments as they come in. And I will refresh my page in case I can't. But for those of you that do not know me, my name is Alana Wilcox, and I am a spinning instructor, a fiber artist, a dyer. I do all sorts of different things. But I'm coming on tonight because I have a workshop that I'm going to be running next week on plying, and it's called Plying Fundamentals. And so I wanted to come on and share with you a plying technique that maybe you've seen or you might have questions about. So it's a plying bracelet. So I'm going to do that demonstration tonight. And I'm going to also answer any questions that you might have about like what is covered in the workshop, or, what the workshop is about. And so if you have any other questions, though, that you want to pick my brain about, as soon as the yard is done being plied, I'm going to go. But until then, you can ask away. And I'm just going to check in the comments to see if anyone has any questions or anything like that. So I'm going to just go ahead and get started. So for the workshop, right, I'm putting together all of these different samples because the way that I like to approach spinning, or pretty much like any kind of art making that I do, is with a very scientific inquiry, based lens. And so I like to ask questions. I like to, see like how things work and really understand, I'm not going to say necessarily like the physics of spinning, but I really like to see how can I learn about a technique or a method by answering questions before I begin. So what that might look like is, if I'm going to spin for a sweater, for example, I might say, I wonder how, a 3-ply yarn would work in a sweater compared to like a 2-ply yarn, right? And then I might spin up 2 different types of yarns and do swatches or something like that, and then see which one I like better. So I always start with these kinds of questions. And so in teaching this workshop on plying, in my mind, I kind of have a roadmap of where I'm going to take participants, but I still want it to be interesting and engaging beyond just giving you facts, for example, that you can find on the internet, right? The whole point, I think, of having a workshop is that you're able to have an interaction with someone that has experience, and that they can tell you like the whys of what's going on and how it works, right? So like you're kind of coming to someone wanting to understand whatever the topic or the content is a little bit deeper. And so the best way that I feel that I can serve my students is by continuing to dig deeper, right? So just because I know how to ply yarn, I don't allow that to be something that sort of stops my learning as well. I'm constantly asking questions. I'm constantly, investigating things and experimenting with things. And I feel like that really enhances what I'm then able to share with participants, so that, you can walk away from a workshop not only getting, maybe like the basic content knowledge around that topic, but you can also see ways maybe that it's never been presented before, because I like to go in a little bit deeper. So I'm just going to do a quick refresh because I don't see comments popping up. So hang on one second. Hopefully I don't lose you guys. All right. So there were no comments popping up, but I don't know why I can't see any comments, but fingers crossed. If you're leaving comments, I'm happy to go back and answer them later on. If anyone could just be like, hey, we're here, we're commenting, but I don't know. Facebook is always funny when it comes to that sort of thing. So I'm clicking refresh. Hopefully, oh, wait a second. I see someone, Martha's coming from Buffalo. So hello, fellow upstaters. Yes. Okay, thank you, Nancy. I appreciate you chiming in. All right, thanks. Okay, good. So I know that if people comment that it's working. So what you're looking at on my desk is a little nitty knotty with a sample skein that I just did. So this was from a center pole ball plying, and I used these braids over here. So I used these two dyed wools. Oh, I got all my upstate New Yorkers with me. Anybody else from anywhere else in the world? I'm just curious where are all my spinners from? I love the New York representers. So yeah, so these are the two dyed braids that I was working with, and the reason, even though I'm not necessarily doing a workshop on color, I'm doing it more about like how plying actually influences the way that the yarns look. So if I have two different colors, then it makes it easier for comparison, right? So that's kind of why I chose to use these colors, but there was no rhyme or reason. Oh, I see Long Island. All right. I have all the New Yorkers all the way downstate to upstate. Okay. So great. Well, oh, and I got some West Coasters too. Yep. Yeah. So, Nancy, I love to have these minis because, if I save them, and let's say, like, I'm also a dyer, right? So if I spin something like this and I really like the way that it looks, by having little samples, it will allow me to know, how the dye was applied if I want to achieve those same results. So it's kind of like a little, mental bookmark, if you will, of how the dye was applied, and then I can see, how long the colors are spaced apart and all of that. So it really helps me when planning those types of projects. So over here, I have my little electric eel wheel nano spinner. So I know it's not like a traditional spinning wheel, but I love spinning on an electric spinner simply because it's portable. So I can spin pretty much anywhere with it. It's very lightweight and compact, so it makes a great tool for transportation. And it's on the relative cheaper side compared to all of the other electric spinners. So I'm not like a vendor or a seller of these. It's just, this is why I like this little one. And for workshops, you can see it easily on the screen as far as what it is that I'm doing. So what I'm going to go ahead and do now is bring my leader through the orifice. So my spinner is all good to go. And then over here, I have a little bobbin. And I have my Lazy Kate. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the bobbin on the Lazy Kate because I don't want it to roll around on the floor. And tonight, like I said, I'm going to make a plying bracelet. So some people might refer to this as Andean plying, and it's sort of a misnomer because the term Andean plying isn't necessarily the way that people in the Andes ply traditionally, right? So there's lots of different techniques and ways that they ply, but this is a technique generally that is reserved for when I was talking to Abby Frankmont, like she said that most of the time, even if a spinner finishes the yarn at the end, they'll just keep spinning off of that. Like they won't do this technique, but they'll take two balls of singles and wrap them together, and then they'll ply from those balls. That's more common. So the more accurate term for this type of spinning is actually referring to it as a plying bracelet. So not to, language is so important, and the words that we use is so important. And so if we're learning about techniques from other cultures, from other people, I think just purely out of respect for the heritage and the history and the knowledge that they're sharing, to just make sure that we're accurate in the way that we refer to the techniques. So I'm going to go ahead and start making my plying bracelet, and I'm going to show you how I do that. Okay. Hello, Michiganer, Diane. Okay, so to start with, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the end of my single, and I'm going to wrap it like 3 or 4 times around my thumb just to kind of make it, like lock there. And then I'm going to wrap it and go behind my hand, and I'm going to wrap it around my middle finger. And then I'm going to go wrap it behind my hand again and wrap it around my middle finger like so. Okay, and so I'm going to keep going in this motion. So if you want to think of it, it's almost like making an infinity symbol where the ends of the infinity loops are wrapping around my middle finger. So I'm not necessarily doing this at a speed of which that, you know, you're gonna follow along with me, but I'm just kind of explaining what it is that I'm doing so you can see. And so for those of you that are maybe not spinners, like if you're just a knitter and you're wondering, you know, why am I doing this, or what would the benefit of doing this be? So if you're somebody that does not have more than one bobbin, so like if you're a spinner, you might have gotten like an antique wheel or something like that that only had one bobbin on it. And so you might need to figure out, well, how can I get the yarn off? But this is more commonly a technique, just from my personal experience, that more drop spindlers or people that use a drop spindle will use, as opposed to people that spin on wheels or electric spinners, because as you can see, I'm winding it off of a bobbin, right? So most of the time, people that use bobbins like this, so those are the wheel spinners and the electric spinners, will tend to use this tool here that's called, again, a lazy Kate, to do our plying off of onto another bobbin. But if you're a drop spindler and all you have is a drop spindle, this is a technique. If you don't use the 2 ball wound together worth of singles plying method, you can use the plying bracelet method. So I spun one strip of one braid and one strip of the other. And then I basically am going to put them together, so it's going to make my yarn go from looking like a single strand of yarn to having 2 strands together. Okay, so I'm gonna come up to the camera. It's almost done being wound off, so that you can see the difference between how the single strand of yarn looks. So us spinners refer to it as a singles, compared to the plied yarn. Okay, so I'm gonna just get to the end of it and then break it off. All right, so on my wrist, you can see that I have the singles over here. And then on this one, I'm just gonna wait a second, hang on, because there's a bit of a delay, so I just wanna make sure that it's gonna be in focus. So yeah, so over here, this one is the plied one, right? So I'm gonna go extreme close up. Hang on, there we go. Okay, so you can see the 2 strands are together, right? And so right now I only have it as a single strand. So I'm gonna basically be putting the 2 together. And so it's gonna look relatively like this, because I'm using the same fiber, the same colors and all of that. But because I'm using different plying techniques, I want to explore, how do those techniques influence the way my yarn looks? How does it influence the way that my yarn behaves? And why would I want to pick one technique over another? You know, what are the benefits, pros, cons, all of that. So those are some of the ideas and things like that I'm going to explore in the actual workshop. Okay, so now that I've gotten this configuration on my hand of the single strands, I'm going to take it off, but I need to do so in a somewhat careful way, because I don't want to get the single strands tangled. So to do this, I'm going to slide it off of my middle finger like so. Now, when I first started doing this technique, when I was just starting spinning and I was a drop spindler, I went so far up my knuckle that like I almost lost circulation, you know. So definitely as a beginner doing this technique, you want to not put a lot of tension or pressure on the yarn, like to pull the yarn very hard, because you don't want to cut your circulation off, right? So that's just a tip for those of you that are going to attempt it for the first time. So now that I wound off the package, right? So I have the last end piece over here, and then I have the beginning piece over here. I'm going to take these 2 beginning and end pieces, and I'm going to attach them to my leader. Okay, so that is this string over here that is tied to and connected to my bobbin. All right, so once this is all hooked up and ready to go, I'm gonna actually switch hands. Okay, so I'm gonna take this off. Now when I take it off again, I want to be careful because this is just basically, I'm going to say that it's tangled, but it's basically like the intersecting ends of like an infinity symbol, right? So if like you were to have, you know, like an infinity symbol that was made out of rubber and you were to like squeeze it and fold it back on itself, that's kind of what's happening over here. So if I pull too hard, then they'll all come out and then I'll have a tangled mess. So to transfer it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just gently kind of make my hand get as small as possible with my fingers and then move it over to my other wrist. So as a spinner, depending upon what hand you control the twist with and what hand you normally like to hold the fiber with, that would be the hand that you want the plying bracelet to go on. So I'm somebody that likes to hold the fiber in my right hand, so that's my back hand, and that's why I'm going to put it on my right wrist. So here I go. I'm going to go and ply, but first I'm going to make sure that it's going in the plying direction. Okay, so I'm going to get a little bit of speed on. All right, and so just got to help it through because sometimes when you first start plying, it's a little bit thicker than the orifice and it can get stuck. Okay, so I'm going to try to move my spinner back so you can see my hands, like what my hands are doing. Hang on. Just got to make the tension a little bit tighter. So there's all this like tweaking that has to happen with your equipment before you start. And usually the rule the rule of technology is you can set everything up, but no matter how much you prepare and set things up, it's going to always fall apart when you want it to work. So give me 1 second to just get this going. This little guy can be a little bit fiddly. Okay. Let's try. There you go. Okay. So as far as my hands go, so I'm going to go a little bit closer so you can see. Okay, so the way this works is that my forward hand or my left hand is going to be the one that slicks the twist down. And so my right hand is the one that the fiber is, or the yarn rather, is coming off of, right? So I like to almost hold it like, you know, reins, where I have my pointer finger, my index finger, you know, between the two strands, and I'm just putting a slight tension between my thumb and my middle finger against my pointer finger. I'm gonna make the tension a little bit higher. There we go. Okay. And so my left hand is my forward hand, and it's basically holding the twist down, right? It's slicking the twist down, and my right hand is the one that is controlling the tensioning in the back. So this way it's going to give me a nice even yarn. And you can see that taking these two singles, it's putting them together because I'm using twist that's going in the opposite direction. So I'm just going to go click on the refresh because I don't see any more comments coming. So if people are commenting, forgive me for not being able to see it. Okay, it doesn't look like comments were there. So if people do add comments, I will go back and respond to any that I didn't do it during the live. So if you're watching this on the replay, that's fine. You know, you can just go ahead and tag me and I'll be happy to come back and answer any questions about what I was doing that you may have. Okay. So right now I am basically going and wait, hang on. Is the video not? What's going on? I don't see. Oh, there we go. Okay. It looks like there's a little bit of lag coming from my other camera. So I just want to make sure. Oh, there we go. Okay. Just wanted to check and make sure. The nano side froze, of course, right? The beauty of technology. So hopefully it's working now. There we go. It looks like it's working now. Okay, fingers crossed. We're all back up and running. So what I'm gonna do when I'm done is I'm gonna take a picture tomorrow when I have natural light, and I will post it so that you can see the way that the resulting yarn looks. Okay, so hopefully. Hi Jim, how are you? I hope you are enjoying yourself. We're Rochesterians. There's a lot of upstate New Yorkers joining me tonight, so I'm so excited to be amongst the New Yorkers. So yeah, so I'm just gonna go ahead, like I said, and take a picture of this tomorrow so you can see in the natural light how it looks, because my lighting in here isn't the best, only because I painted all of my walls green and I didn't anticipate that this was going to be a studio that many moons later I would be doing like video and stuff like that, where the green light wouldn't bounce off of what I'm trying to show on the camera. So it definitely skews the color. So I'll go outside in the regular lighting and I'll take a picture so you can see how the colors turned out and how the yarn turned out. So yes, like I said, this technique is called a plying bracelet because you can see how the singles are all wrapped around my wrist. And I'm going to be exploring, I think I want to say at least 5 different plying techniques when I do my workshop next week. So like I said, the workshop is going to be on Thursday from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's going to be via Zoom, so you can be anywhere in the world. If you're not able to make that time, I will record the footage and I will put it up on my website. So that's right below AlanaWilcox.com, and you'll be able to watch it and look at the footage, you know, whenever is good for you. So it's a nice way you can join me live, ask questions, and be there with me, you know, not in person, but like you can be there live, or you can join me via a recording, and I'm always happy to answer questions. Okay, so now that I'm done, I'm just gonna take this off over here and bring it up so you can see. Hopefully, I'm gonna go check on the other camera. Wait, no, don't start spinning. Hang on, let me go see if it's in focus. There we go. Okay. So yeah, so if I come up over here, you can see how the yarns now, they look like they're, you know, they're not necessarily stuck together, but now they're like the 2 strands together as opposed to the singles. So because I have my nitty knotty, and this is a skein of yarn that I want to photograph like while it's on the nitty knotty, I'm gonna wait to take it off from the bobbin and put it on this nitty knotty until tomorrow. But I will be posting the pictures up of all of the yarns that I've spun, so you can kind of see how plying really influences the outcome of the yarn, because it may not necessarily be something that you are aware of when you're doing like from one project to the next, but when you kind of compare them all together and they've all been spun from the same colored wool, the same fiber, right? You'll be able to notice those subtle differences even more dramatically because they're so much the same. So I'm just gonna go and see if there are any other questions. No, okay. Doesn't look like there are any questions. So yeah, so if you've never tried this technique and it's something that, you know, you wanted to, I hope that you can watch this video. I think you'll be able to like search the group. So I know that I've done lots of videos over the past year. Oh yeah, this little nitty knotty, I don't even know where I got him from or her from. It hasn't told me like what it is. But I like to use it for making my little sample skeins, especially whenever I would take workshops and stuff, because I have this Nancy's Knit Knacks, right? Like Lazy Kate. And the reason that I like this one, they don't make them anymore, but why I like it is because they disassemble super easily. And then I have a bag for it that I put it in, and then it goes in here, and then I can take my nitty knotty and put it in as well. So I can kind of have like all of my plying portable tools in one space, and it just makes it a lot easier to have one that's tiny like that. So Jim, if you make little tiny ones, I know especially for Christmas ornaments and things like that, I remember you had like miniature little drop spindles, but I don't know if you make little miniature nitty knotties. So I know Nancy said that she wants one. If you wanna hook her up, I don't know if they're easy to make or not, but it does twist, you know, so it does flatten, which is great. But yeah, so there you go. See, drumming up customers already. There you go. But yeah, so if anyone you know, tries this technique, if you've never tried it before, I'd be curious to hear, you know, what you think about it, and if you would like to learn about more plying techniques and how plying influences your yarn. How can you tell if your yarn is balanced or not? I know a lot of people were asking a question like, well, how should you treat the yarn when you run out, when you're plying two yarns together? Sometimes you have extra on your bobbin. Like, how can you avoid that happening? So all of the questions that people were asking in the poll that I had put up in like October, I think I asked the question, if you're taking a plying workshop, what questions would you hope were answered in it? So all of those questions I'm going to be addressing in the workshop, because it's really important to me as an instructor that I'm creating content and serving the participants in a way that they're getting questions answered that they may not be able to get, from like a book or just looking it up online, right? So being able to ask a human and have that interaction is super important, because that's really what's going to help you and your spinning get to the next level, right? And I think that not being able to go to festivals or take classes in person, hopefully that will start to change, but not being able to take classes in person, it can be kind of hard, and I don't know, like you don't really feel like you're getting out of a recording necessarily like what you can get when you're able to ask a person. And so I want you to know that, like, as a teacher, I really want all of my students, the participants in my workshops, I really want you to walk away feeling like super confident. I want you to know that all of the things that you might have had questions about, they're going to be answered. I might even put more questions back on you to consider and think about, but again, it's that whole lens of approaching spinning and fiber with inquiry, with asking questions, that it just, to me, I think it just enhances the experience. And so I definitely spin for fun. I definitely do mindless spinning, but it's really interesting to me how when we compare all of the different phases and places where we can make changes as a spinner, how that really influences the outcomes. Oh yeah, see, so Jim said that he has made nitty natties in the past, but they're not fun. Yeah, they don't look like they would be a fun gadget to make, for sure. So I definitely appreciate those that are willing to do that. Okay, so someone said, how much yarn do you usually keep aside for sampling for a project? So what's nice about sampling is that I tend to do it in the beginning, and I do just little bits of sampling first, and then I'll see like what I like and what I don't like, so that I don't sample all of my fiber or all of my yarn. Like, I don't spin all of my yarn before I do my sampling, right? Like, I like to do just a little bit of it, to see, and then, I'll figure it out. But I've kind of gotten to the point where instead of just kind of going off of what I want, I tend to like to copy commercial yarns, because I feel like if a person is designing a pattern, for example, for a shawl, right, and they're picking a yarn that is a commercial yarn, it means that that yarn has properties or qualities in it that are going to be suitable for a shawl, right? So like there's like this big I don't say debate, but like a big bugbear of more fiber artists when people want to buy those roving blankets, right? Because you're like, no, don't buy them, they're gonna self-destruct, they're gonna fall apart, like, just please don't, they're gonna be a pill. And it's just, they're going to pill, and it's not going to be good. So, we know, like, having that experience, right, like where that's going to go. So now I'm kind of at this place where I know, what is going to happen with my yarn, but as a designer, right, like if they're making that shawl, they might not use that roving, right away, or they may not like use something that is going to be like really itchy and scratchy and, not good for the shawl, right? They're going to have that experience and that knowledge of, okay, this yarn is going to be really suited for a shawl because, it's light, it's soft, it's next to the skin, soft and all of that. And so if I can make my yarns match what the commercial yarns have from the patterns that I'm following, then I feel like I'm gonna have much better outcomes and success in the things that I like to make. And so I developed a couple of workshops. They're recorded ones, so you can go ahead and take them now if you're interested in that topic. But I have one on copying a commercial yarn, and then I also have one on calculating the fiber and yardage for a project, right? Because you might want to spin for a sweater. And a lot of times, if you go to, forums, like if you ask in this group and you say to people, hey, like, how much fiber do I need for a sweater? So you might get a standard 2 pounds, okay? You might get people saying it depends. You might get people saying, well, I needed 3 pounds for this sweater and a pound for that sweater. So you might get all sorts of different answers. And the reason for that is that, excuse me, depending upon how you spin the yarn, depending upon the fiber that you're spinning, and depending upon how many stitches are in the pattern, depending upon what types of stitches are in the pattern, right? Like, so if you're doing a Fair Isle pattern, it's going to consume yarn differently than if you're doing a stockinette pattern or if you're doing a cable pattern, right? And so it's really interesting to know, again, going through that lens of inquiry, how different techniques and different end uses and different, densities of yarn and all of that stuff can really influence how much fiber you need. So once you understand what all of those components are, then you can feel a lot more confident in how much fiber you need to buy. And so I'm definitely a firm believer that when you are doing a project, right, it's always better to buy the fiber like right when you're about to start it, because then just in case you need extra, like just in case you miscalculated, you always have that opportunity to buy more from that vendor. And so, I bought fiber once from a vendor at a fiber festival, and it was gorgeous stuff. And again, someone said to me, 2 pounds is what you need for a man's sweater. And I thought, okay, cool. Like, I'm just going to get 2 pounds. And so I got the 2 pounds, I spun the 2 pounds, and by the time I got to the end, I only had enough to make what was like a vest, right? Because I spun it in a very dense, using up a lot of fiber way. And so now I needed more fiber. So what did I do? I called up the vendor. Now, in all of my meticulous science exploration, I always keep really like meticulous, methodical notes. But in this instance, I couldn't find the receipt. I saved like every other receipt, but I couldn't find the receipt to know what was in this blend of fiber that I purchased. And so when I went to this vendor, I was like, hey, I bought this fiber from you. I know it had merino and yak and silk and cashmere in it, right? Do you remember the blend? Do you have it? Anything like that? And they're like, well, I don't sell fiber anymore. It was a custom blend, so I don't know what the percentages were. And, I don't even know where I got it from. So, basically not like tough luck, but, basically tough luck, right? And so what I had to do was use my detective sleuthing skills and a magnifying glass and kind of reverse engineer what I thought this yarn was going to, what was in the fiber and the blends and all of that. And so once I reverse engineered it, I reached out to this company to do a custom blend for me based on what I thought the percentages were. And, by the grace of whatever, I was able to match it. And so I just find that moving forward, when I'm going to make a sweater or something that's going to require 2 pounds, that I buy it like right when I'm going to go spin that thing, because I want to make sure that I don't just make vests. And so that's kind of where that workshop came from, was that I wanted to help people to avoid those problems, and what I've developed now so that I don't have to guess how much fiber I need or anything like that for a project. So I hope that very long answers your question. All right, so I don't see any more questions there, but yep, I will definitely be happy to reach out to you, Jim. And I hope that everybody that came out tonight, that you have a lovely weekend. If you would like to watch some more spinning demos, or to like hear me talk about like my creative process in spinning, I am going to be doing this. It's kind of like an interview where they interview artists and like fiber artists, like weavers and dyers, through the Hand Weavers Guild of America. So that's kind of cool. It's going to be on Tuesday. If you would like to hear more about my creative process, like why I got into spinning, why I got into dyeing and all of that. So yeah, but you can definitely go check out, like I said, on my website. So it's like somewhere down, I don't know how to do it, like over here. Yeah, no problem, Martha. Yeah, so you can check out my website. It's just alanawilcox.com. I have a whole bunch of spinning workshops. I also have ones on dyeing too. So I have ones on how to come up with a digital dye notebook. So if you're someone that's into recording recipes and all of that, keeping track of your inventory, it will really help you there. And if there's any requests for a workshop that you would like to take, you know, if there's an interest, please reach out to me. I also do online workshops for guilds. So if you belong to a guild and, you know, you're not meeting in person and you would like to have an online workshop, I'm happy to accommodate your group. So thank you everybody for joining me. Again, if you're watching the replay, please feel free to put you know, your questions in the comments below. You can just tag me, you know, right, like @Alana, and I'll come back and I'll respond. Okay, so thank you to all of you for joining me. I appreciate that you chose to spend your time with me tonight, and I will see you in the group. Take care, everybody.